G'day everyone, welcome back. Been a little bit of an unplanned break over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Had some personal stuff to deal with and had to work my way through that. Work through that adversity, move forward through that adversity that I was facing. And that's the topic of this week's podcast, moving forward. Because it's hard when you are down in the depths, in the hole, and in the dark hole, not the rabbit hole. Sometimes you get a bit lost on how to move forward. You're in the fog. You don't know which way to turn, or you can't see which way to turn. So it's important to try and understand how to move forward through that adversity. And I had a podcast lined up with Daniel for a little while, and we talked earlier in the week, and he thought that we'd talk about moving forward. And as it's a very pertinent subject for me at the moment, I embrace it wholeheartedly. And look, we both got a bit vulnerable. We shared some stuff just as an example of how we've moved forward through adversity and what that adversity looks like, because it's different for everybody, and you don't know your type of adversity or your type of dark hole might be different to another. However, the things that you're feeling and the things that you're experiencing are the same. It was a really excellent conversation, and I truly appreciate Daniel coming out to the refinery and helping me re-engage and putting together an awesome podcast. I really appreciate everybody's time and patience, and despite the fact that I haven't released a podcast this month, we're still going to be consistently, it's going to be over 800 downloads for the month, which is very humbling, and seeing that made me want to make sure I re-engage with this medium. I understand that that's not a lot for other big podcasts out there. However, for myself and the others involved, that's very humbling and very awesome. So thank you very much for that. As always, thanks to Jono for the intro. The music we're going to go with today, I think, because of the subject matter we're talking about, we're going to start with Demons in My Mind, and then we're going to end with Bathe in the Sun. Because once you get through the demons in your mind, it's time to bathe in the sun. Thanks to Rowdy for the music. Remember, unlocking the code on Instagram, unlocking the code on Facebook. I am flirting with embracing the Twitter world. We'll see how that goes. Plenty of awesome conversations, guests, and topics coming up. Look forward to that. We're back on board. Really appreciate your time. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Be cool. And we'll talk soon. Cheers.
Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. I never turn to the bottle to wash away the demons in my mind. I stood up and knocked them down. Though I had a struggle till I seen the colored eyes of the kind. Now they have built me up. I've always had the answer. I'm not one to self-destruct. There's too many smiles that I love. And when my world comes crashing down, I get right back up. I take the brunt, I walk out of the road. Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, but tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. I never turn to the bottom to wash away the demons in my mind. I stood up and knocked them down. And if I fight back, find my strength again. Days have been gold, but tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. Will I give up? I doubt it. Will I give it all away? No way.
G'day everyone, welcome back. Mr. Mengel, you're back in. You're in the studio for the first time, mate.
Yeah, man. I am so glad I made it up. This is awesome.
First experience in the refinery.
Yes, yeah, and it's it's doing really well in here, man. I'm feeling some really great energy.
This room is interesting, man. It reveals secrets. It adapts. It's a very, very cool and very interesting space. Yeah.
There's actually a lot going on in here, eh? Like
Yes.
every time my eye catches, something new. There's something new to investigate in this room.
Yeah, and everything has a story.
Yeah. Well.
But welcome, mate. Welcome.
Yeah. So glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, mate, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So, we just talked about keywords before we turned the mics on, and the main keyword that we both agreed on was vulnerability.
Yeah, vulnerability. Yep.
Because our topic of conversation tonight is moving forward. I think that'll be the name of the podcast. Moving forward through adversity. And how do we do that? However, I suppose to move forward through adversity, before we discuss how we move forward, you have to experience that adversity, don't you, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So pretty much like everybody is going to go through this something at one point in their life, right? And it's going to be a different something for everybody out there. But, is it possible that there's a process, and that's what we want to investigate, right?
Yeah. I think before, just to jump on something that you just said then, is that it is different for all of us. Yeah. Because there is definitely levels. Like, I've been prone to depression most of my life. I've experienced depression. I've had shit stuff happen to me. Everybody's got their story. However, there's been millions and millions and billions of people that have had it worse off than me, right? However, there's also, and this is all perception again we're talking about. I think the thing is that what I'm trying to get at is that when you experience your adversity, it's entirely dependent on your reality and your perception and how it affects you. However, at the end of the day, if it's something that is truly affecting you mentally and emotionally and physically, spiritually, it doesn't really matter what it is. You know what I mean? Well, it does, but it doesn't. Everybody experiences these things. It's different for everybody. However, you can't discount someone else's adversity because you're not the one going through it. You don't know what's going on. It may seem from the outside that it's not much. You know what I mean? It's fuck all in your perception. But in that person's perception, in their life, in their reality, could be massive, man. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's only the tip of the iceberg. So we must be understanding, especially as blokes, I think too, we must be understanding of the different types of adversity and how things affect us differently on an emotional, spiritual, physical level, mental level,
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess everybody has their own scale. So
absolutely,
somebody who's grown up, in a hostile situation, right? They become desensitized to their environment.
Absolutely.
And they get a chance to learn tools. If you're going through, whether those tools are good habits or bad habits, we do learn something through it, through the contrast at least. But
well, I think all our tools, there's a percentage of them that don't serve us.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, if you've got someone who's been really sheltered in life, that can really fuck you up too.
Absolutely.
And how can when you I don't know a good example, but I'm just going to say the first thing that comes out. It's like, say, you've never had a pet, you've never had anything go wrong in your whole entire life, and suddenly your dog dies, and you don't know, how to handle that grief. You haven't
absolutely.
had to experience that. You've just had this perfect life. It's like, it's not very realistic, but just using the comparison, like someone may have, had that, some experience like a million times, and it's just like, there's a process for that.
Well, I think it depends, just the thoughts running around in my head at the moment, it depends on the connection, doesn't it? You know what I mean? The connection to whatever it is has gone wrong. How much are you invested in that thing? Because adversity, in a lot of cases, in most cases, is something happens unexpectedly, or the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. You're not prepared for it. These are the things.
The shock factor definitely has a psychological effect. The shock factor alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Something, when you're not prepared for something and something goes drastically wrong, regardless of the severity, it can send you down a spiral if you are predisposed to that. You know what I mean? Excuse me. If you are predisposed to being depressed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you are predisposed to having a negative mental state, if that's the 6-lane highway in your mind, right, is a negative state, small things, small things initially can knock you off the track. You know what I mean? They can knock you off the track and they can send you down that negative road. However, what you've got to do, and this sort of goes back to something we talked about a lot on the podcast early on, was that the 6-lane highway of negative emotions, negative belief systems, feeling like shit, feeling lack of self-worth, self-esteem, the negative self-talk, if that's something you've experienced a lot in your life, that's a 6-lane highway, right?
Yeah.
However, every time you recognise you're going down that highway and you go, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go through the bush, right? You're going to get the dozer, you're going to go fucking turn left, and you're going to carve a new path.
Right, grab the energy reserves out of the fridge.
And you're going to carve a new path, a new thought pattern, a new neural link that doesn't allow you to move back into that negative thought pattern. The more you can do that, we talk about moving forward, the more you can do that, the more that path becomes more well-worn. And the 6-lane highway that was your negative belief pattern starts getting chopped off. You know what I'm saying? And you got to...
Yeah.
However, the problem is that these negative belief systems, and especially if it's an operating system of yours, they're tricky motherfuckers, man. They will use anything, your mind will use anything it can to trick you back into that negative space.
Yeah, true. That's true. So, a couple of things. So, firstly, this highway, okay?
Yeah.
What if you just through a different perception, different lens here? What if you're on an uphill part of your journey and it's just really freaking hard? Maybe you're coming up to the peak where you're going to enter the part where you get to coast down the other side.
Look, that's true.
The calm before the storm.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I think, I understand what you're saying. However, again, it's all about perception of reality, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I use a different metaphor when I'm talking to people. It's a spiral. So basically the downward spiral or the upward spiral. Which spiral are you on? Are you spiraling downwards? Are you plummeting? Because it's like when you get up out of bed and you kick your toe on something and then you just know the rest of your day is shit.
But that's a perception. You've chosen that the rest of your day is shit.
That's the whole, and that's the whole point, because that, I think how you wake up in the morning, even how you go to bed at night, the night before, is a good determination of how your next day is going to be, or
That's
how
true.
the rest of the day is going to be.
That's true. If you've Netflix binge till 2 o'clock in the morning and you've got to get up at 6, your next day is probably not going to be great.
Yeah.
But that's consequence.
So
that's the contrast.
You can
right?
you can go into programming there. So something that I used, a little tool that I used, and I wasn't even doing this consciously. Like, I hadn't even got deep into the personal growth that I have since then. But I just sort of realized that, one thing I wanted to do at, one of my most vulnerable times in my life, going through, catalysts and having everything fall apart in front of me, was getting rid of the TV, starting to actually go within to allow the things, that I needed to process to sort of come up and process them, sort of regulate those energies.
Yeah.
But getting rid of the TV, so we're talking about programming, right?
Well, that's why they call it a program.
Yeah, exactly. And it's called television because it tells lies to your vision, right? The last thing, I sort of figured this out when, I was playing the PlayStation 3, some stage through my life, okay? But when my brother got a PS4 and started playing with him on that, I would notice, when I played that till late at night, I'd close my eyes and everything was just going through my mind on replay.
Yeah, you can see the game in your mind.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep, and it was a violent game as well.
Of course it was.
Yes, exactly.
Is there anything apart from racing games, violent games?
That's
pretty much it.
It's mostly what's out there. That's what people are drawn to. Hey, you have an affinity to lean towards fear sometimes. So yeah, fear and horror is a big one. But yeah, we are literally programming ourselves. It's not just all about what you eat. It's, when you're feeding yourself, you're also feeding yourself every time you jump in front of a TV, when you turn the radio on. So I made a pact with myself. Okay, I stopped watching TV for this stage of my life, after my catalyst, and I started to exercise, and I just made a pact that I was going to exercise. Now, it just so happened that, it fit more into my day in the evenings before I went to bed. Even if I got home late on a Saturday night from being out, I would at least, give myself 10 minutes so I could at least say I've done something. I got a bit of a sweat up, and just moved my body, just moved, energies out of my body. It wasn't my intention. I just decided I needed to get better at making a commitment to myself.
Well, it's discipline, mate. You're applying discipline.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things when you are facing adversity and you're on the downward spiral, right?
Yeah.
One of the first things, this is from my own experience, you know what I mean? One of the first things is that you lose focus on that discipline, right? You lose focus on what, especially if you've worked, it's difficult because I know I have a formula. If I adhere to the formula that I know will make me feel better, if I have the discipline and the focus to do that, I'll be fine. The problem is that when your routine gets upset, when that adversity comes, you're on that downward spiral, like you say.
Yeah.
And the things that go out the window are the things that make you feel better. Yeah. So you start doing things.
It's because your self-worth is dropping.
Your self-worth is dropping. And I think...
So you're drawing something into your being that is external, and you've made an association with that as being a part of you. Yeah. Yeah, it's your ego.
Yeah. A lot of it is ego-based, some of this stuff, you know what I mean? It's also past programming. Like I say, if you're predisposed to spiral down the rabbit hole in a negative light and become depressed, then in some ways, and I found myself doing this, definitely not as much anymore, have you self-sabotage. You actually do things that'll purposely put you in a hole so you can stay in that hole because the hole's comfortable.
That's right. Nobody... Yeah, that's right. Reminds me of a story, I think it's a Chinese story that I heard. But anyway, I'll skip to the end of it. This turtle wants to be a dragon, and it's like asks, "How can I become a dragon?" To this other dragon, the dragon just simply says, "All you got to do is leave your shell behind."
Yes, that's right. And yeah. Well, yeah, you've got to step out of your shell. And I think the problem is that when you're in that negative space, in that adversity, the shell is comfort. You know what I mean? You don't, and you can. It feels like you're going within, and you are to a point. However, your empathy goes out the window. Your negative self-talk goes right up because your self-worth is down. So, you drop a knife on the floor and you go, "Oh, you fucking stupid cunt. You dropped a knife on the floor. Look at you, you fucking useless fucking asshole."
Well, I actually haven't talked to myself like that.
Haven't you?
Yet. No, not that bad. No.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah.
But we do get in that mode subconsciously. Sometimes it's like, how conscious are you of all your subconscious thoughts? The truth is we're not. Like, to even get to that point, self-worth obviously is going to come up as a factor.
But I think there's a lot of people out there that do have that level of negative self-talk.
I think that's why Tony Robbins is so successful.
Yeah, it is. Look, I'm probably being a bit extreme. I have a tendency to be dramatic every now and again. However, what I'm saying is that when you're in that negative space, before you can move forward, negative things get exacerbated, right? Which continues the spiral down. Yeah. So the question is, how do we spiral up? How do we move forward? Right. How do we take the wheel and drive?
Sometimes I actually think you have to hit the bottom first.
There's definitely something to that. Yeah. You've got to bounce off whatever baseline you've set previously.
So it's like I think about like addicts, addiction. Okay, in its severe cases, there have been addicts that have completely turned their life around.
Absolutely, all the time.
And it's right. So the only reason why most people have that turnaround is because they find rock bottom, whatever that is for them. You can just go lower and lower and lower, and it's where you draw that line in the sand.
That's true. I think
so. It's like where you makes you actually want to change everything.
Yeah, and it's a question of where your baseline is at, because look, there has to be, in order to move forward out of the depths of despair and adversity and depression and in the hole that we all know and love so well, been there, done that, got the fucking t-shirt, right? Right? It's at what point do you go, oi, get out of the fucking hole? You know what I mean? And it's about where I believe it's about where you've previously set your baseline, and that's something we've talked about a lot on the podcast. It's like when you are striding forward and everything's going well, and you're getting those those steps to unlocking the code. You're making great strides personally, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You got to keep an eye on that, because the thing is, you can go inevitably, and I've seen this a lot, right? Where people have a burst of enlightenment, okay? What inevitably happens after that initial burst of enlightenment is people fall back past their baseline because they haven't set themselves up, Frank always says to me, you can't always run up a mountain. You're going to fucking slip and fall at some point. You got to stop, put your flag in the dirt and go, righto, this is me. This is version, 2.7. Yeah. We're going to hold here, try and assimilate some of what we're being taught, and then move forward again. With the theory being that if you surge forward again when you fall, like we all do, because that's the human experience, you don't fall back past that base level that you've reset. But if you continually just try and strive forward and you never stop and smell the roses and assimilate what is going on, when you fall, it's going to be blaze of fucking glory time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you can just maybe go into like an observational state during those times. Sometimes it's forced upon us, and sometimes you might have the mindfulness to sort of do that for yourself.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, okay, like you say, but just in a different way. It's always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
So it's like challenge, reflection, reflection.
Yeah.
And when that reflection kind of sucks, that's the whole negative attitude towards it, right? When the reflection sucks.
Yeah.
So there's a lesson there. What are we reflecting that we're not happy about? Our lives.
Yes.
And then it always comes back to self-worth. All right. So when we've caught that reflection, we can look at it and just, it's about bringing awareness to it. And when you find awareness, self-awareness, then you can make a choice to do something different. But if you're stubborn, you might want to go back down the ladder, keep going down the spiral again,
exactly,
and find your rock bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is that for you? What's the ugliest part of yourself that, you had to see that reflection of before it made you change your mind?
Yeah.
So you're just really discovering your shadow self every time. And that's how we're doing some light work around here, right? Making light of things.
Trying to.
Yeah.
But there is no light without dark. It's the constant contrast.
That's right.
And you again, what is the catalyst? I think for those of us that are trying to search within ourselves and walk the path, for want of a better term, it is ugly. I think that's the thing about it, is right. And this is the thing about moving forward through adversity. If you do not, the only way you are truly going to move forward through adversity is you must embrace it and you must see it.
That's right. That's exactly right. I think that the very first step to turning anything around is actually acceptance.
Yep.
Acceptance of what is in front of you. Maybe it's an external thing, okay, or maybe it's you yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Here's a question though, and I'm interested to hear: what is self-worth? What is your perception? Not of you. You can tell me about your own self-worth if you like. However, I think one of the issues we have is how we perceive self-worth. So what do you think self-worth is? What's your perception of self-worth?
Okay. Self-worth, when you're talking about worth, it kind of sounds like there is a valuation system there.
Yes.
So it could be, for some people it could be, I think that it is tied into the ego, the way that we live our daily lives, mostly. But we can flip that around and self-worth, if we change that word to love, self-love, now love is actually a third energy.
Self-love's a bit sus too, though.
Well, no, it's all good here, mate.
Yeah.
But it's perfectly okay. Just love yourself all you like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No judgment.
Yeah.
So So basically, love is a third. It's like a third energy. Okay, when when one person, one energy meets a second person, it's a second energy. Something else is created between them, and you can feel it around you when somebody just falls in love and enters that love bubble, that honeymoon period. Like when you first meet someone, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Right. I've noticed if I was like super lonely, had like nobody with me, and you're walking around, nobody really looks at you. But when somebody loves you, it's like all of a sudden other people are attracted to you too. And it's a third energy that they're attracted to. That's why we look at children the way that we do.
Yeah.
They're just unconditional love, which is a more pure form of love.
Yes, that's true. I think, and look, you do, self-love is self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. These are all terms, that we could bandy about. However, the key to moving forward is embracing the adversity and embracing the reflection and the darkness that you don't want to see.
We've got to transmute those negative energies. And yeah, so how I'm saying like love is a third energy, right? You can't destroy energy, but you can transmute it. So you've got to
change it. Yeah.
You know, you've got to learn to become the alchemist, pretty much. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but basically, like through setting intentions, creating ceremony around things like self-love practice, like whether it is exercising, which has helped me immensely through depression at stages in my life and anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
On a biological level too, it only makes sense. It really does, like, it helps put more oxygen into the blood and it helps filter out, like, all the toxins, the cortisol. Yeah, so that third energy, mate, it's the same with gratitude, acceptance. The problem that most of us are trying to do is we're trying to, like forgiveness, say, okay? We forgive somebody because it's just basically easier to say, I forgive you and move on, and we forget it. But forgiveness is actually, it's an emotion that you feel. You can, if you sit down and feel an emotion like love or gratitude for 10 seconds, it's honestly not going to have the same impact as if you sit down for 100 seconds or 10 minutes, okay, or 40 minutes. I've sat down doing a gratitude meditation for 40 minutes. I'll stay blissed out for the rest of the day.
See, what you're talking about there is we're talking about negative and positive emotions, okay? Negative emotions, when you're in that, within that adversity and you're in that negative mindset, what it's doing is it's taking something from you. It's taking your self-worth. It's taking your ability of self-love. It's taking your ability to feel gratitude, to feel happiness, to feel these things. Whereas the opposite is true.
Yeah.
If you can, as you say, transmute that energy into a positive emotion, positive emotions give you something. When you help someone when you didn't have to, you make someone smile, you make them laugh, you do something that doesn't, it's a free thing to do. When you brighten someone's day just because, that gives you something, gives you an energy.
That's right.
Whereas if you're stuck in the negative mindset, it will take energy from you.
Hey, that's right. Like, at one stage in my life, like, okay, there was only one major catalyst in my life, but it's like everything went pear-shaped all at the same time.
Yeah.
But one of the things I actually did was I just went for a random drive. I'm like, I just need to go somewhere. And I found a store that was moving, like St. Vinny's and that, and they had to move shop. And they rely on volunteers. I ended up actually helping them with their stuff. And I really had nothing but, you know, my car and the clothes I was wearing, basically. But helping other people, it really did, like, turned over a new leaf for me. Like, I felt good. And that's when I kind of learned, like, hey, you actually feel good by doing. It's the doing aspect of being. Like, and yeah, that gratitude, like, it helps you. Some of those people that volunteer with anything are the most grateful people in the world. So they've got enough to give back.
Well, they have service. They and this is I think this is a very positive thing about the human experience, is that in service you feel gratitude and then you derive your self-worth from that. However, that's a double-edged sword. You know, I think, especially as men, you know, coming up to Father's Day, all those sorts of things, is as fathers and as partners and as men, where we derive our self-worth from, we probably need to question. Because the thing is that the only person that should give you your self-worth is who? It's you.
That's right. So
you shouldn't derive your self-worth from material gain, you know, nothing, actually. Your entirety of your self-worth or self-love, self-esteem, self-confidence, all these things, choose an acronym, should be derived from within you. However, we've been conditioned by society to determine our self-worth by materialistic things, by status, by money, by family situation. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that determine the self-worth of a lot of blokes out there. And then when one of those things, like you've experienced yourself, when that gets taken away, you're nothing. You know what I mean? Or you feel like you're nothing.
It's your belief. You have that valuation system, self-worth.
Yeah. So, you know, we need to attempt to change the way we perceive our self-worth, self-love, like you're saying, transmute the energy.
And that's exactly what I was thinking earlier. So all transmutation is just simply seeing the other side of the coin and being witness to that. So it's like, okay, that's really negative, but there is always a positive on the other side of that. And that's a universal law.
Law is in L-O-R-E, law.
Well, it's the truth. It's the truth. If there's something energetically, I think that there's the same amount of going on that could be perceived as negative as positive. So for me, on my journey, basically, you know, the way that I changed, the only thing I really changed was my mindset and how I perceive things. Like, all these negative things happen to me, but I'm like, I'm actually not a victim of that. So then that's step one, acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And step two was being like, okay, well, actually, this has actually put me in a unique position. And, you know, what can I leverage out of this position? What have I learned?
You're in a new band of perspective.
Yeah.
You know,
that's right. So I'm like, oh, it's that aha moment. You want more aha moments in your life to be able to go, oh, if that didn't happen that way, then I wouldn't have got to here. And now I can just chill out.
But the aha moments don't come without the ability to sit back and observe the situation.
Yeah.
And see the situation from a perception where you aren't the victim.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, you know, we can get lost in the fog.
Absolutely.
We can get lost in the fog and be like, yeah, okay, I understand, mate. I just don't want to hear it right now. I want to have a pity party.
Yeah, a pity party. Yeah.
And dwell on my lack of self-worth. So you actually, I think you posted something on social media a while back, and I was like, oh, that was gold. It was something based around this.
Oh, we all fuck up. We all do that. Yeah. And then, look, I think the thing is that, you know, cards on the table is that I've had a negative mind state for the last month or so. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
And this podcast is as much.
So what are you actually going through right now, Trev?
What am I going through right now? I'm moving forward, right? Because the thing is I know my established baseline is not as far back as it used to be, yeah? So I bounced off that rock bottom. Well, I didn't actually get to rock bottom this time, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You
saw the bottom.
I saw the bottom coming, yeah?
Okay.
I saw it coming. I saw that it was fast approaching, and I didn't want to be that person, and I had to work through it. And look, it must be said, the support from my beautiful wife has been amazing, and that had definitely helped me. However, at the end of the day, these things are a personal journey, and you've got to be ready yourself to get out and get out. And I think one of the things that I experienced through the process is that because I stayed on my bike, you know what I mean? I think I've ridden over 200 Ks in the last couple of months. You know, I was still doing my push-ups and my sit-ups, and I was still applying some discipline. However, that didn't stop the negative mindset, yeah? So I had to approach it from a different perception, and it was basically employ discipline. Right? transmute, it was almost to a point where it was like, no, I'm just not going to fucking do this anymore, yeah?
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I was in an observational state where I could see myself in the fog almost. You know what I mean? It's like you see a shadow wandering through the fog. And it's like, hey, dude, you don't actually...
You don't have to go that way?
You don't have to go that way. You
Yeah.
you don't have to do that. And not only that, it's a reaffirming type of thing where I'm coming out of it now, and it's like, okay, I'm truly thinking about what are the lessons to be learned and what is the way forward, which is the whole reason we're sitting down tonight.
That's right. We made a pact that we were going to get vulnerable and talk about, some personal stuff. And a lot of the reason for that is because we know a lot of this has to do with connection, and we want, people basically to know that everybody goes through stuff.
They do, yeah.
And, a lot of the times that we actually feel alone is because we separate ourselves, and we separate ourselves to go within.
Yeah.
That's the only place that we can actually draw something from our authentic self, from our own core. And that's when we learn about ourselves, because majority of us, like you've seen some people with some really strong characters, right? Real strong personality.
Yeah.
And you go and hang out with them, for an evening, and you come home and you're talking a little bit like how they are. We're all mirroring each other, right? We're all reflections of each other.
You're a product of the 5 people you hang around the most.
That's so true. That's so true. And I'm sure our mirrors extend even further than that.
Yeah.
If we really want to expand
Absolutely.
on that. But let's just let's maybe keep things, relatively simple. Like all the people around you are mirroring something, or you're mirroring something off them. And it's whoever has the most strongest vibration in whatever that mirror aspect is. So, who are you is the question. And when we get stuck on that question, right?
That is the question.
We want to generate some kind of answer. So
you want to generate some sort of narrative that will suit how you feel. However, before you move on to your next thought, you talked about we separate ourselves because we think we're alone. Yeah, I used to do an exercise.
Well, we trick ourselves into
it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I used to do an exercise, and when I was teaching, and inevitably we'd start talking about this sort of stuff, and I would tell people, I said, okay, bit of bravery here, guys. Raise your hand if you have experienced depression, right? Inevitably, half the class at least would probably put their hand up, yeah?
Yeah.
And I'd say, keep your hand up if you thought you were alone.
Mm-hmm.
Inevitably, most people would keep their hand up.
Yeah.
And then I'd go, well, look around. You're not. You never are.
Yeah.
However, that is your choice. That is your perception.
That's so true, yes. Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot of really good things for men out there to try and help us with that. However, more work needs to be done, and that's part of why we wanted to be vulnerable tonight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, sorry, mate. I just had to get that out because it's the truth,
good.
Man. You know what I mean? Like unfortunately, I've known 21 blokes that have not known personally. I've known a few. However, when I was working FIFO, during the time of my FIFO career, 21 blokes killed themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's relative because it's in your field of reality. Right?
Yeah, that's true. It is all relative.
Yeah, so like you see it. Yeah, it depends on where you are. But like, imagine if you work in a hospital. How many depressed people are in hospitals?
A lot. A lot. Well, they're in their illness. You know what I mean? They're in that mindset, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah, so what can you do if you're in a hospital and you're like really depressed? Well, mate, something that you can do if you're not in a hospital is get yourself into nature.
That's true. That's true.
So-
We've lost our connection with the earth. You know, there's something to be said about that. An interesting question I also used to pose to my class was, how long since you've walked barefoot on the ground,
Yeah.
on the earth,
Yeah.
on the grass?
Yeah.
How long since you've lied on the grass and just connected with this big fucking blue ball that is hurtling through space? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
this is our vessel. We're on a spaceship right now, and it
Yeah.
gives us everything we need.
And so, yes, that's exactly the way that we should all be looking at it, right?
Uh-huh,
Each and every day, reminding ourselves, and if we're going to mirror to other people's, that's what we should be mirroring to each other sometimes as well, you know. So yeah, when you are like going within, right, and you're like looking at who you are, it's usually a mirror who comes along and actually helps you remember, like your reflection, right?
Yeah.
So we just take it in terms of shutting down and going within.
I'll tell you what. So we're being vulnerable, right?
Yeah, yes.
My daughter probably knows how to use my phone better than I do, and she's 4 years old.
Okay.
She took a photo of me. Now, it was a very bad angle, right? However, I looked like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a literal reflection, is one of the things that got me up. Because I looked at my phone and went, oh, that's a terrible... Oh, fucking hell, mate.
Yeah.
You better fucking tie your shoes on, sunshine. Yeah. You know, it was actually because we're talking about reflections. It was a literal reflection.
Yeah.
Was one of the things that, and out of the mouths of babes, just my daughter messing around taking photos. She took one photo of me and I went, oh, is that actually what I look like at the moment? That's not a good thing. It's...
Well, I don't know, mate. Like, sometimes I think cameras are a little bit weird, or maybe because we are just like a hologram of what we're feeling sometimes, basically.
Yeah.
However you feel on the inside can reflect how you look on the outside, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Definitely.
But
other times it can't too, though. You know what I mean?
If you can get really, really good at hiding it, I think some people do.
And a lot of those overconfident people are actually freaking the fuck out underneath.
Oh, yeah. Bullies, mate. Bullies have, like, probably the most fears. Most bullies are being, bullied by something they consider higher up to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bullies at work, bullies at school.
Yeah.
And, if you really... I used to work with school camps, so kids on school camps with behavioural issues. And... you just have to, with sensitivity and being careful, like, but sometimes, they just have a behavior and an attitude that you just can't break it. And that's when the throat punch comes in. It's not a literal throat punch, okay? It's a metaphor. But just like being real raw and honest and actually pointing out their trigger or, the reason why I think they're having that behavior.
Yeah.
It stops them dead in their tracks. And, they're the kid in the room that's never not had an answer for everything,
That's
right?
true, yeah.
And their brain is going, okay, I have to come up with an answer. It's smart ass, but I don't know. I just have a way of doing that with people, right?
Yeah.
Bringing out, the deepest levels of awareness in them that they're capable of at the time and just nailing it in a natural way. But, these kids, like, I've seen them actually change for the rest of camp. And you've gone from being the guy they're trying to, sort of overrule and stand over to being the alpha. And then they start coming to you with questions in this whole different level of respect, because not only did you, give them the old throat punch when you open them up, made them vulnerable, then you got to help them with the wound, right?
Well, that's true.
Move into acceptance, and then where do we go from here, and give out some choices. And you can solve so many behavioral issues, like with kids, like in that way.
That's true, but I think it also applies to adults as well.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
we probably need it more than anyone.
We're just
really
grown-up kids, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not... However,
most of our programs are run by our own 4-year-old child that's still within us.
Yeah, most of our belief systems are you're adhering to something that happened to you in the past, which causes you to react in a certain way, and that's your pattern. You know, you've got to, in order to move forward, you've got to figure out that pattern. Yeah, so one of the tools that Frank has spoken about on the podcast before, and he actually helped me with this, is to see your belief systems as like a brick wall, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So in masonry terms, there's always the keystone.
Yeah.
You pull that stone out, the whole fucking lot comes down.
Yeah.
Right? However, you need to figure out what are your belief systems that are not serving you, yeah? Because inevitably you are carrying belief systems that you believe in your heart of hearts are good for you. However, upon further analysis, they're probably fucking not, and they're actually serving a negative pattern. And this is, we're talking about the reflection, yeah?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you'll see the reflection and you'll justify whatever bullshit's going on, whatever adversity you're facing, pity party, victimhood, you know, it's all, you know, fuck everybody, it's not my fault. Unfortunately, if you are depressed and you are in a negative pattern, there's definitely part of it, if not most of it, is all you. And that's a difficult thing to face. So it's what you're talking about. That's the reflection. That's the energy that you need to transmute. Yeah. And the problem is, I think, especially with blokes, is that we don't have a lot of tools in the toolkit to do that. You know what I mean? Because we don't sit down and talk about these things.
No, we haven't for a long time.
And
we're long overdue. Guys need it, and women need it from the guys too.
Yes, probably, yeah.
It could it can help so many people when a man becomes more expressive. Mate, man is a powerful force to be reckoned with. You know, if if their primary emotions are based around rage and anger, and a lot of that happens because they didn't actually express themselves or weren't given the space to express themselves.
Yeah, and inevitably, unfortunately, we take our shit out on people that don't deserve it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You know,
definitely.
So the question,
looking to blame because it's energy. We don't know how to deal with it. Yeah. We don't have the tool just yet. Yeah. We don't like the reflection. Don't accept it. So yeah, we project it onto others. Many times. Yeah. And
you become, or you end up inside a bottle. You know. I know it's at the bottom of a Jack. I know it's at the bottom of 10 Jack Daniels bottles, mate. It's not the answer. You know what I mean?
It's not the answer. No. Some slurred speech and a hangover.
Yeah.
Unless you're a seasoned pro and just do it every night. No worries.
Yeah.
But you still no answer though. No. It's like, I've been looking for 30 years. I reckon I got another 30 to go. I'll get there. It's persistence and willpower. Stubbornness, yeah. Because the thing is, because what happens as well is, because we, you talk about end up inside a bottle, is that a lot of men, the belief system and the pattern is to bottle things up because we can't show emotion. Mm-hmm. We can't feel. We can't embrace our feminine side and actually understand our emotions and try and fucking deal with them. We got to just be, fucking cunts, fucking. You do that so well.
You know what I mean? And then what happens when you bottle shit up? That bottle will fill up.
You're going to project it.
And it's going to explode, man.
If you don't know how to take ownership of something, right? It's just not one of your tools, not one of your prerequisites. You're gonna try and pass it on to somebody. So, here's a little story. Okay, if we got time.
We got time, man.
We got time. Cool. So I heard this story. All right, I love this. There's this king. Okay, and he gets some really bad news. Okay, he's got an advisor, comes up to him, and gives him some bad news. All of a sudden, the king just turns around and slaps the advisor across the face.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Advisor's like, yeah, well, that happened. So the advisor, he's a bit taken back, and it's like he's the king. He can't do anything. He can't hit him back. He can't retaliate, right? He's a little bit stuck there. And then he looks around at his first assistant, okay? His assistant advisor, and he slaps him across the face. So the assistant advisor, he's like a little bit hurt and runs off to the next room. So 3 days pass by, okay, and the king, he's getting ready for bed. He goes into his bedroom. He's now with the queen, right? He takes his dressing gown off, then smack, okay, the queen just slaps him across the face. And he's like, oi, what's this all about? What are you doing? What are you doing to me, woman? And she's like, oh, don't you know that this game's been going around the whole castle for 3 days now? It's just your turn. So basically, I remember
What goes around comes around.
exactly. It's we're all trying to pass it on, or
Yeah.
you might have seen I remember I've always been such an observant person. I remember seeing at high school, man, like one of your friends would get cheated on, then they'd hold the pain, they'd go and cheat on somebody else. And
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah.
well, that's the school I went to anyway. It's like this pain, this emotional turmoil. We just we don't accept it a lot of times, and you want to pass it on. Well, that's what's got to change. That's what we all need to change. We all need to think about it. It's not just for men. It's for men and women.
It's for team human. It's team human, man. Team human.
Yes, exactly. So there's been times like it's our inner child that wants revenge and that it's vengeful.
And it's our ego. That
Wants
sort of stuff,
justice.
Yeah.
Okay. Justice. I think like when you become an adult, you're more conscious. And when you're more conscious, it means you can gain more self-awareness of stuff that's going on within you.
Yeah.
You should be able to have, more tools, or be learning more tools, on how to be responsible. So responsibility, simply your ability to respond.
Yeah.
That's what that word implies.
Mm-hmm.
When we use the word responsibility, a lot of times we think of it as we're trying to blame you. This is your responsibility.
You fucked
This is
it up.
your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we can just change the meaning of the word and understand, ability to respond. What is your ability to respond right now? What are your choices? What can you do inside you that's going to change the outside reflection?
Yeah, and that's that's very important what you're talking about. In order to move forward, you must adapt your ability to respond, because the thing is that when you respond in a negative way, like we've spoken about, it's probably going to take energy off you, which isn't going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel worse. And not only that, is that everybody affects the world around them. So those that are closest to you, your situations, whatever you're dealing with, if you're constantly, your ability to respond or your responsibility is negative, it's going to continue. So do you have the self-awareness and the observational state to change that response? And I do think too, there is something to fake it till you make it, mate. You know what I mean? Just try.
It definitely works for some people, and it's worked for some people for whole lifetimes.
But I'm talking more about, definitely. However, I'm talking more about within the context of what we're talking about now, right? Where you're in a negative space, you don't want to smile,
okay.
You don't want to be happy, you don't want to help, you don't want to do the positive things. The only way to get out of the fucking hole is to do it anyway, right? That is courage. Courage is not absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and still fucking doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by fake it till you make it, because it's like, I don't want to be happy, I don't want to engage. However, I'm going to make myself do something that I don't want to do
So again, you're facing a different type of adversity in order to move forward,
Yeah.
right? And that is adapting your ability to respond. You've chosen, instead of to go, oh, woe is me, you know, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I just want to eat worms, you know what I mean? To, that was shit, I'm going to just try and get up tomorrow morning and start again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's all you can do. However, the thing is, in our instant gratification society, is that you think that it's going to happen straight away.
Yeah, it's a really big issue, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Instant
It's like
gratification, yeah.
You know, however, the reality to this stuff that we're talking about is you're not going to be in the depths of depression in your hole, you know, and wake up tomorrow and go, I'm fine. You know, look, you might. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. However, it's going to take a series of steps and leaps of faith and
surrender
and scrambling up the side of that fucking hole and falling back down again and going, okay, that didn't work. What are we going to do now? You know? And it isn't the things, inevitably the things that are going to actually truly make you feel better and make you move forward through the adversity aren't the things that give you instant gratification. And that's the hard thing, especially in today's society. You know what I mean? You know, you can go and, you know, buy a box of Krispy Kremes and sit down and watch Netflix and have a good time. That's a bunch of instant gratification. Now, I'm not saying that's not a good thing. Everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah.
However, if you get up every morning and go for a ride or do some sit-ups, do some exercise or do some sort of mental activity, meditation, apply a discipline over the course of time, that is going to serve you better, because that is actually establishing your strength, establishing your baseline, making you that better person. So when you fall again, you won't fall as far. You know, whereas if you constantly indulge yourself.
Or you know how to catch yourself, and you can apply some plyometric exercises and jump straight back up.
Yes. That is the idea. The idea is that when negative things happen to you, eventually it'll be water off a duck's back.
Yeah. Yeah, you build grit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Through desensitization.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Desensitization. Yeah, that's good enough. I've got an idea that I'm going to create a dictionary of all the words that we've made up on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
cool. Okay, cool.
They'll be like, so don't worry about pronunciation. It'll just be another word to the dictionary.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it's like the Unlocking the Code dictionary. Hello, means, you know.
Yeah. You should definitely leave that out with a pen, like, you know, as soon as people enter the room.
Yeah. Have a well, it's all recorded.
I put words together sometimes. Yeah, combined words.
Yeah. Oh, we all do.
Yeah.
We all do. Yeah.
It's logical in the moment, isn't it? It's like makes sense to you.
It makes sense to you.
Usually other people get it too. They understand it.
Well, it's one of those interesting things. I mean, you would have seen it on Facebook where like the words are spelled backwards or they're misspelt. But it's like, if you can read this, you know what I mean? Yeah. We don't actually need it to be properly spelt right to actually understand it.
That's right.
That's actually a really good metaphor for what we're talking about now, is that it doesn't need to be plain and simple. You know what I mean? Like, or it is simple, but it requires discipline, and it can come in many forms. And think about that you can see things. You know, that's another mirror tile on the disco ball, man. You know what I mean? As many perspectives as you can add gives you a better ability to respond and to interpret the situation for what it is, even if it is something that is unfamiliar.
Yeah.
You know?
So think about, you've got those letters in reverse or whatever, that little message, and there's bits and pieces missing. Your mind is literally filling in the blanks. So apply that to your life. Okay, how many bullshit stories have you told yourself about what's actually happening? How much is truth and how much is a story that you've made up?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, if you know anyone who's a bit of a drama queen, okay, they've made that up. But a drama queen is someone who is like heavily polarized in that behavior. But
That
you
is
know,
part of their operating system.
we may not notice that, you know, we all have a little bit of that inside of us. And if we can look for the stories and go, okay, and call bullshit on ourselves.
Oh, you've got to
It could
call
be a
bullshit
step
on
forward.
yourself, mate. You got to call bullshit on yourself because
Yeah.
the thing is that. But again, it comes down to self-awareness.
That's right. You need that.
Because if you've just fed yourself shit for
Yeah.
20 years,
That's right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Try unbelieving something that you've believed your whole life.
And this
So
is what we're talking
here's a test right now for everybody. Just don't think about monkeys.
yeah, that's the psychological.
Yeah.
Can't remember the guy that did that. Yeah, don't think about a monkey with the symbols. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
No, stop. Really.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about monkeys.
Yeah, stop. Don't. Whatever you do, you're not allowed to think about monkeys. You know. Well, that's that's one of the things. If someone's grumpy, it's like if you laugh, you're gonna be in so much trouble.
Yeah.
You can't laugh. Whatever you do, you're not allowed to laugh. Inevitably, you'll make them smile. Most
Yeah.
people, you know what I mean?
Don't look down.
Yeah. Don't look down. Yeah. When you're up high, don't look down.
Kids, stop walking on the bloody road.
Speaking about don't looking down and the contrast of looking down, you recently threw yourself out of a perfectly good aeroplane, mate.
Yeah, I did look down. I was with somebody, right, Melinda, and she decided she was going to jump out of the plane first.
Uh-huh.
And mate, she fell so fast. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is the first time we've actually hung out, me and this girl. And I'm like, I could have just invited her for coffee or a chat
No,
or something.
instead you
It's
threw her out of a perfectly
I'm
good
like,
aeroplane.
let's go skydiving. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Let's
nice
jump
to
out of
meet-
a plane together and see, if we like each other.
Yeah. So what was that? I mean, you're a person of contrast and consciousness and understanding experiences. It's something I haven't done yet, jumped out of an aeroplane, something I really, really want to do. However, what was it? Can you even describe what it's like plummeting to Earth at 200 kilometres an hour, terminal velocity?
That's right. So basically, this was my first time, and you will get more and more used to it. But that initial shock of jumping out stays for a long time. You've got to do it so many times before you desensitize yourself enough to that. But it's overwhelm in the brain. Okay, it's information overload. When you jump out of a plane, right? The same thing that happens in your nervous system, in your body, your physiology. Okay, when you go to fall off a bed or fall off a bonnet of a car, I don't know what you're doing on the bonnet of your car, guys.
Where did that one come from?
That's
Oh, look, everyone's done some bonnet surfing at some point, mate. It's Australia.
Yeah,
Don't worry
well,
about it now.
Yeah.
These things happen.
My earlier childhood
Yeah.
involved some bonnet surfing.
Oh, look, thank God for Jesus handles inside the car. And
Yeah.
the thing is, when I was a teenager and hanging outside the car by those handles, I had no idea that they were only held together by two little screws.
Yeah, you don't think about that.
If I had known that, you know what I mean? Knowing what I know now, I'm actually like...
No, I knew that. I just did it anyway.
Just did it anyway. That's I don't know if that's courage or stupidity.
Yeah.
Is it... So overwhelmed, so there's no positive emotion, negative emotion, just like holy motherfucker.
So what I was going to say is, like, if you're going to fall off something, you usually extend your arms out and you want to reach out and you want to grab onto something.
Yeah.
Well, when you've fallen, like when you've jumped out of a plane and
How
you're just
high
free
did you fall
falling.
from?
So it was 15,000 foot drop.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're free falling for about 40 seconds. And then you pull the chute and you're like there for another minute and a half roughly before you land.
Yeah, right.
So it's all over with relatively quickly, but
It'd be one of those times where time stands still, though, yeah?
it does feel like that. So I had, I had so much fear that it's beyond fear. You just shut down.
Yeah.
Pretty much jumping out, because I have a phobia of heights, and this is why I decided I wanted to go skydiving. I just don't want to be
To face the contrast.
Yeah. It's part of my own personal growth on my journey. you know, and I got such an adrenaline rush. I want to do it again.
Yeah. That's a hell of a lot of adrenaline.
I actually have set a
Dopamine.
goal after doing that. You have to do it tandem. You have to do it 10 times with somebody before you are allowed to go solo. I would love to do it solo. That's my goal. I don't need to do it a million times or every weekend, but I want to do it solo.
Yeah, just to be in control of that.
If you go on YouTube, you can see so many videos. If you have a look on my page, you can see some pictures, you know, of me falling and some expressions on my face and that.
Yeah.
But jumping out, it was just so much shock to this nervous system, mate. Like, your nervous system takes over, right? You think you're gonna stay conscious and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that and this is gonna happen and you're gonna think a certain way. No,
you think you've got control. You've just jumped out of an airplane.
What it did for me is it put me into a complete moment of presence, being absolutely present. Right? While you're falling, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to think about.
No,
okay?
You're not worried about. You're not worried about your bank account or what's going on.
You're not. You're
completely in the
it's
present
like it all
moment.
gets pushed out of your brain, quite literally. Like, it forces you into this present moment. That's what happened to me. That was my experience, and I actually experienced bliss. Like I reconnected with my inner child again. I experienced absolute bliss at probably about, a quarter of the way down. As soon as, I told myself, okay, I did a little bit of mental preparation that I'm going to completely let go. I want to let go. I'm not coming back for another 3 days. So, yeah, I'm going to make the most of it.
Yeah.
No, so, just completely let go of everything. Let go of any ideology about anything or what you're going to do. Just jump.
And I think that is, and the reason
Surrender. I wanted to surrender. Yeah.
You were ready to surrender.
That's what I told myself I was going to do.
Okay, that's what you told yourself you were going to do.
It kind of sucks, though, because you're sitting there at the plane. As soon as you get your feet into position, my instructor, there's no 3, 2, 1, go. It's just, he just launched us. And it was like, holy shit, where's my freaking Jesus handles now?
Where's the Jesus handle now? There's nothing to hang on to.
Dude, put me back. There's no going back. So surrender.
Yeah. We had no
and
choice.
life's like that. You there is no going back, so you may as well surrender right now. Surrender is so important to moving forward.
Yeah.
If you can't admit where you are in the moment, you're still fucked.
Yeah,
you haven't hit...
There's no acceptance. If there's no acceptance of surrender, as I say, recently, as I experienced my little depression moment in time, I do think probably the first thing that got me moving and out of that fog was going, oh, actually I am. That's what's wrong with me. I am depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. It's not okay, but it is okay because, you just need to learn from that. You know what I mean? As soon as I figured out that that's what I was, because of all the work that I've done previously, the creation of this that you're sitting in right now, it's like in all the hours of work and research and blah, 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 and, kilometres on the bike and all the things, it's like, okay, right, it's okay, you are now. Okay, that's what you are. What are we going to do? And what's going to be our lessons out of this? And how are we going to move forward? And I think the things that we're talking about, so I think we're probably nearing the end of this little podcast. So what would you say, now that we're nearing the end, moving forward through adversity? I think we've covered it off all pretty well. There's acceptance, surrender, there's a level of understanding.
Being okay with being vulnerable. Sometimes you've got to call on your mates. You've actually got to put your hand up and ask for help. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually just read.
And look, shout out to the brothers that helped me out. You boys know who you are, who made me accountable.
Yes.
Much love.
That's good, man. Being accountable.
Yeah, well, I think they sort of said, well, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Haven't put a podcast out. You haven't done
Yes.
this. You haven't done that. You know, what the fuck's going on?
I had a similar experience. It was not that bad, but I had the flu. I was sick for a couple of weeks of man flu, pretty
Yeah.
much dying.
Yeah, you're
Every-
dying.
any
You're
man-
on death's door for sure, mate. I understand.
Pretty much, yeah. You know what man flu is like, being a man. So it's worse than the regular flu.
It's worse than anything, mate. You know,
So-
only men understand how bad man flu
That's
is.
right. So when I'm lying down in my pity party, I start posting on my public page. I stopped altogether
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, and I start questioning, because I haven't done it for a while. It's
So why
dropped
the
out
fuck
of
are you doing it?
yeah, it's dropped out of my normal habits.
Your daily
right?
routine, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, why the fuck am I doing this? Am I doing this for me? Am I doing this for other people? Okay, who am I really, sharing this for? So I share a lot of stuff on consciousness and self-awareness, and go into lots of different topics.
Yeah.
But
What? Yeah, I'll get you to make sure you tell your page at the end. So continue. Sorry, mate.
So basically, some people started asking me where I was and what I was doing. Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
You haven't posted for a while.
Yeah.
And because, I've had people message me and be like, hey, man, I feel like you're talking straight to me, like you're speaking to me, and just perfect timing, right? And I just go with what comes to mind, what pops into my head. And of course, there's somebody out there that is needed that, whether it was some tough love or some compassion,
Absolutely,
whatever it
yeah.
was. People find what they need
Absolutely,
and connect with what they need, to heal at that moment. And it might not be right for you until a particular time when you're ready to accept that as well.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And you've got to, look, I suppose that is, I do, obviously we talked a lot before we turned the mics on tonight. The things that you're posting are genuine and authentic, and I try and be the same, and I think that is definitely a key there. If you're genuine and authentic, like whatever I post, and it's the same with you. We've talked for a couple of hours before we turned the mics on.
Yeah.
We would say exactly what we said to each other on Facebook. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
There's no lens. There's no filter there. And people appreciate that. And I suppose one of the things that I did learn through this is that, had a few people say, man, you've helped me, you've helped a lot of other people. Make sure you help yourself, you know what I mean? And if there's anything you need, let me know, So you got to have a good support group. And look, there is a lot of good support groups. There you go. There's a word.
There you go. Add that.
Check that there.
It's more like some kind of weird beatboxing
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
you got
yeah.
going on.
Just
Good.
write that down, Jamie. Thanks, mate.
Done.
There is a lot of groups out there, there's the lads. It's the name's going to change. That's a group that I'm a moderator of. The Blokes Advice. There's a lot of these places out there. Daddius. It's another group where dads talk about stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hoping to get Scott on the podcast. We've been talking about that, trying to figure out a time together. There's a lot of places you can go where you can get that feedback, but I think the thing is you've got to have the confidence within yourself, or know that these things that we're talking about tonight they're not as taboo as they used to be. A lot of blokes will actually take the time of day to talk to you if you ask them. So this amount, I need to chat. And that's very important. However, the thing is, you're not going to get to that point unless you can move forward yourself. So, what are our keys there, mate? Our keys are what's the takeaway? I think the takeaways are.
So for acceptance and surrender,
Yeah.
what that means, breaking that down, is wherever you are right now is exactly the right place that you're meant to be. That's acceptance.
Yeah.
You're meant to be there. You have to accept it. You can't go forward from there.
There's no.
We can only go forward.
You can only
from
go
there.
forward
Yeah.
from there. You can't
You
go
can't
back.
go back. Yeah, you can't slip back from there.
Yeah. Surrender is understanding that what you just said, accepting where you are.
Yeah.
And not surrendering as we understand as like, waving the white flag, is that surrendering to your state of mind and knowing that and seeing that it doesn't serve you. And through that surrender, there's that acceptance and like, oh, shit. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think from surrender you go to, or attempt to go to observation, would you say? Try and observe
Well,
to move forward? Or you're going to...
we do sometimes disassociate to go to reflect on things as a way
Yeah.
of observing it. It's like your consciousness kind of leaves your body because it doesn't feel safe, or it just needs to become the observer.
Yeah.
And a lot of us that are becoming more and more aware and evolved are seeing this.
Definitely. And I think you must, to get through your adversity and move forward through your adversity, you must face a bit more adversity. You've got to get out of the pity party,
That's right.
comfortable hole.
Worst thing you can do is have a pity party, and
Oh,
because
look,
you
I don't
feed
think
it.
it's the worst. Yeah.
No, you got to be a realist. Like, you got to be real with yourself to neutralize, negativity. You have to be real with yourself. And it might mean being vulnerable in front of a mate or in front of a whole freaking podcast audience, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
We are but men.
Yeah.
What we're doing here is we're embracing humanism, okay? We're accepting that we're human beings.
Yeah.
We're freeing ourselves from judgment, right? And the perception of others.
Yeah.
We really don't care. And we've just, emptied all the weight of our shoulders from doing that.
At the end of the day, mate, there's not much you can do,
That's right.
And that's part of your surrender, you know what I mean? I think that's part of the surrender, is that that surrender is understanding that it is, man. You know what I mean? You are who you are in that moment. What are you going to do about it?
You've got an energetic bank balance. So, you wasting a lot of your energy, your money, right? Your self-worth, your energetic value on caring what other people think, right? But you have to put your hand up for help sometimes, because, being vulnerable creates space for others to come in,
And I think the key is...
Sometimes you just need to get it out. It's just the
Yeah,
words.
you just got to get it out. You just need to get it out. And I think...
Expression of,
For those that... It's okay to be vulnerable, gentlemen. And I am directing this at blokes because women are much better at it. And look, they do need assistance with it as well. However, we're men and we know what we're like. And being vulnerable is not one of the things... Because if we're taught if you're vulnerable, you're then opening yourself up to ridicule, attack. You know what I mean? If you expose your weakness, especially as Aussie blokes... Oh, you don't like fucking... You don't like lizards, right? You're going to fucking wake up with a lizard in your bed, mate. That's what's going to happen to you.
That's right. That's right. We don't mess around.
No,
mate.
no.
If you're sensitive about something, you're going to get a chance to move on from that tonight.
You better fucking get over it real quick, yeah?
Yeah.
However, it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. There's plenty of places out there you can talk to. There's lines that are open 24 hours a day where you can actually just ring and talk to someone who's not involved as a completely observational, a non-objective person, and it's just about talking about it. And even if that just gets you to the point where you can put your hand up and go, "I'm okay that I'm not okay."
Yeah, perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. And I think the thing is, and it all comes around, you know what I mean? It all comes around and around and around to find something that gives you something.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that not negative, okay? And look, there's a place for alcohol and drugs and mind-bending substances, okay? Everything in moderation, including moderation. Things that I'm talking about, and I've said it 1,000 times on this podcast already, this is my thing that you're sitting in right now, Daniel. You know?
Yeah, I'm feeling it. Your energy's all through this room, mate.
However, you know, I've got the gym set up out there. You know what I mean? These are the things that give me something else.
Yeah, man.
Outside of my family, outside of everything else, because you got to find something that serves you in a positive way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of energy stored in here for those darker days, right? And it's like coming home.
It is, man. It's a yeah.
So, I say that from time to time, like, you know, we are all on this individual journey, but we're not alone. We're all walking each other home, in a sense.
And we're all, and the thing about it is, the interesting thing, that the more I do this podcast and the more I have these conversations outside of the podcast and talk to different people, is that we're all aiming for the same thing, and we are taking a little bit of a different path to get there.
What do you think we're aiming for?
I think it's the human condition, man. I think we're all, if you talk to anyone from any walk of life, from any religion, colour, creed, sex, whatever, you know, we all want to be loved. We all want to have a comfortable life. We all want to have things that give us
security is important to everybody. It's like the first challenge is like getting, feeling secure, so you can go out and be creative.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go out and be creative if you haven't
in survival mode.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's the problem, right? If you're constantly in survival mode, you don't have the ability to move past that. And I think these negative downward spirals are you being in survival mode. You must step outside that.
Absolutely.
And apply these things we're talking about, mate. Yeah. And look, once you understand that you're not okay and you're willing to move forward, then just do something every day that helps you. You know, I think that's the key. And don't be afraid to be a bit vulnerable with loved ones or as I say, the multitude of things to try and find and look for the answers. The answers are within, yes. However, you won't find those answers unless you get multiple perspectives.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? So
right.
The answer itself is going to come from within you, for you. However, the more perspectives you can gain, the more angles that you can see it, that is when you will get the answer.
I mean, you've still given yourself that answer, because whatever somebody says to you, it's coming through your own filters anyway.
Exactly.
They've just guided you towards your own truth.
Exactly.
And that's what we need to consider. It's not all about going and forcing ourselves to blabber about, the terrible things in our lives. It's more about speaking our truth.
Yes.
And understanding the difference between speaking your truth and actually whinging and complaining, right? Mm-hmm. If you go out and you whinge and complain about people, you start pulling on their energy and start draining them. Right. But you've got to open space too. So if you're going to approach somebody, it's always good to maybe say, hey, look, I actually really need some help with something. I really need to, express myself. Have you got a moment? Then they know it's serious, right? Yeah. I actually really need to talk to somebody is all you've got to say. Yeah. And speak your truth. Don't have to complain about the way that the world is, because to be honest, as harsh as it sounds, we need to get out of that mindset of thinking that the world is absolutely fucked, because the world is fine with or without you. You as an individual, if you disappear...
You're a drop in the ocean forgot about.
Yeah, if you disappear, the world is going to carry on just fine. Without you, it's going to continue to evolve, grow. Other people are going to move on and live their lives. Your soul experience is a reflection, of things that you pull into your being. That tells you that you have a choice, and when you understand you have that choice, you have a great power to overcome that. It's just going through the process.
That's the opposite of it, mate. So, and this is the conundrum. This is the human conundrum. This is how I've put it, is that on one hand, you're a drop in the ocean forgot about. But on the other hand, you are the biggest, you're an infinite creator.
You're the biggest thing in your own personal experience.
That's true, yeah. And you're an infinite creator that is the most powerful being that's ever lived. That is
Yeah.
the contrast that you must live with every day.
Yeah, you do have the most authority in your own life as an adult, especially in our culture. Okay, we are pretty lucky. We do complain a lot about,
Oh,
our
there's a lot of
society
first
and that.
world problems that we have.
We do have issues, but generally from day to day life, we're pretty lucky.
We are lucky, and I think the thing is that to wrap it up, when you say lucky, one of the things that's going to help you move forward is to focus on positive emotions, like the fact that you are lucky to have what you have. If you've got a roof over your head, you know what I mean, you got food on your table, you're doing better than a lot of people out there. You have things to be grateful for. You have things to be positive about. And the more you can focus on those things, the quicker you're going to move forward through that adversity.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
mate, as your first time in the refinery, I want you to lean over, and there's 3
Right.
Wisdom Warrior books there, mate. You can see there, Warrior Wisdom. You see them there next to the Kokoda book. Grab whichever one tickles your fancy. Okay. Now sit back, jump on the mic. Okay. Now what I want you to do is just close your eyes, open up to a page, and tell me what it says.
Let what works well be the test for what is right. Bruce Lee.
Let what works well be the
Be the
test.
test for what is right.
Is that not what we've just been talking about? And what's on the other page?
Okay. So the previous page is victorious warriors win first and then go to war. Defeated warriors go to war first, then seek to win. Sun Tzu.
Are those 2 statements not
Yeah.
exactly what we've been talking about for the last however long we've been on this podcast?
Wow.
Yeah, those books are magical, man.
These
They
are some
really are.
magical books, mate. Yeah.
Mm. Well, Daniel, thanks very much for coming out, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, so grateful to be here in the studio this time.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again, man. We might see if we can drag Matty out here, and we'll get a tripod going and see what happens.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
We used to say threesome, but that's a bit
Yeah.
weird. You know what I mean?
Taking that one out of the context. Yeah, righto. Well,
But look, man, I really appreciate you coming out. It was an interesting conversation. I hope everyone out there got a lot out of this. I know I did. I think you might have done as well, mate.
definitely, mate.
These
I
things,
just know when you start talking about this, when you start talking to somebody else, right? It starts to open up your own thoughts.
Absolutely.
You're like, wow, okay. And then from there, hopefully, maybe think it's not that bad.
Absolutely. So yeah, Daniel Mengel, MENGL 333 on Insta. What's your page again, mate?
Just Daniel Mengel, same as my name.
Yeah, and
Just-
that's the name of your
it's
Facebook page.
Yeah, I've got a personal page and a public page, and all my content on self-awareness, consciousness. I talk about a lot of out there stuff. It's on my public page, Daniel Mengel.
Okay, check that out, guys. And thanks very much for your time. We are back. There's a lot of cool subjects coming on. There's a lot of cool people coming on, and we're back down the rabbit hole. So thanks very much. Even though we had a bit of a break over the last month, still well over 700 downloads for this month, which is very humbling and makes me want to keep moving forward. So thanks very much, guys. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. I think I might just bathe in the sun. And I hope my world don't crash in over me, just like it did yesterday. I'm pretty sure the last mirror that I cracked was more than 7 years ago. And I don't want wrapped around her. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in